In this lesson, we're going to talk about how to convert from fractions to decimals and from decimals to percents and the other way around as well. We'll talk about going from percents to decimals and from decimals to fractions. So to change a decimal to a percent, all you do is you move your decimal point to the right 2 places and then add the percent sign. So an example is if you have 0.36 or 36 hundredths, all you have to do is move your decimal point 1, 2, so your decimal point comes at the end. So that would be 36. This decimal point's at the end, but we don't have to write it. So, and then put down the percent sign. 1.52, move your decimal point to the right 2 times, and that turns into 152%. 0.3862, that you move your decimal point to the right 2 times, and it ends up between the 8 and the 6. So that would be 38.62 or 38 and 62 hundredths percent. And sometimes we only have one number, so what we have to do is move our decimal point 2 times, but then we have to fill in, you put a place value holder there, and this turns into 80%. Now the same thing goes if we have like a whole number, like a 2. If we have a 2, we start at the end, go 1, 2, so we have to put 2 zeros, and that would be 200%. Okay? Now, if we're moving the other way from a percent to a decimal, you start at the end and you move your decimal point to the left 2 places and take away the percent sign. So 59%, you start after the 9 and you go 1, 2, and it'd be 0.59, and I always put the 0 in front. Okay, so that turns into 59 hundredths. All right, 3%, start after the 3, move your decimal point to the left 2 times, and once again, you have to put a place value holder there. So it would be 0.03 or 3 100ths or 0.03. Okay, 19.5%, move your decimal point to the left 2 times, and it would be 0.195 or 195 thousandths. 30%, same thing, be 0.30, or we don't have to put that 0 at the end. We could just put 0.3, okay? Because that 0 at the end up here is just for the place value holder, same as what we had up here with the 0.8. And 125%, move your decimal point to the left 2 times, and be 1.25, or 1 and 25 hundredths. All right. If we're talking about converting fractions to decimals, basically you divide the numerator, which remember is the top number, okay, by the denominator, which is the bottom number, okay. Okay, bottom number. So 3/8, we can use our calculator for this. All right. So 3/8, you just go 3 divided by 8, hit enter, and we end up with 0.375 or 375 thousandths. Okay, sometimes we have a mixed number. So we know that this 2 is the whole number is going to stay as a whole number. So we're going to put 2 point, and then all we have to do is change that 4/5 to a fraction or to a decimal. So you go 4 divided by 5, and we end up with 0.8, okay? So that 0 we can ignore because we have the 2 there, so it turns into 2.8, okay, or 2 8/10. So then if we're converting decimals to fractions, okay, converting decimals to fractions, we have to use our place values here. So, for instance, if you remember, it starts at tenths and then hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, and so on. So this turns into 6/10 because it's 1 decimal place. That's the tenths place, and then we have to reduce it down, and you can do that by dividing by a common factor, greatest common factor. Or you can, if you want to use a graphing calculator, you go 6 divided by 10 and then hit math, enter. And when we do that, okay, so in this case, I'm going to divide by 3. No, I'm not. I'm going to divide by 2 because 2 is our greatest common factor, GCF. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 10 divided by 2 is 5, and we end up with 3/5. Here, 2 and 6 over 2 and 625 thousandths. Okay, so we have 2, the whole number 2, and 625 over 1,000. Now this is one where I'm going to actually use the calculator, the graphing calculator, and I'm going to say 625 divided by 1,000, and I'm going to do math, enter, and we end up with 5/8. So this turns into 2 and 5/8. All right. The next part of this lesson is comparing fractions and decimals and fractions and percents. Well, obviously, the biggest, easiest way of doing it is to convert the fractions to decimals or to percents. So 3/4, okay, 3/4 is 3 divided by 4 is 0.75. So we have 0.75, and so we're comparing 0.75 and 0.6, and obviously 0.75 is larger than 0.6. Okay, do the same thing with 1/5. 1 divided by 5 is 0.2. So we have 0.2. Remember, this has got 2 decimal places, so this is the same thing as 0.20. And so 1/5 is less than 0.25. All right. 17 over 32. 17 divided by 32 is 0.53125. 0.53125. Now, we can either convert this to a percent because we have percents right here. We can either convert this to a percent or we can convert this to a decimal. It doesn't really matter. Easiest thing is I'm going to convert this to a percent, 1, 2. So this would be 53.125, okay? And so 53.125 is larger than 50%. So that would be 53.125%. 21 over 25. 0.84. So 0.84. Well, when we look at this, these are equal. Okay. So because if I convert this over to a percent, 1, 2, that turns into 84. Turns into 84%. Okay. All right. All right, so a word problem. In a survey, 25 students were asked whether they prefer watching football or movies on television. 14 students said they preferred watching football. What percent of the students surveyed said that they prefer watching football? So that would be 14 out of 25. And so all we have to do is we have to convert that to a decimal. 14 divided by 25 is 0.56. If I move my decimal point to the right 2 times, okay, and then that turns into 56%. So 56% of the students surveyed said they preferred watching football. Okay, so that's it for this lesson. Make sure that you've copied the notes down as far as how to convert from one way of expressing the numbers to the other. And make sure you ask questions if you have any. And we'll talk to y'all later on.